Dodge and other tools. Hi guys, today we'll continue to talk about retouching tools. We'll discuss in detail such tools as the Dodge and the Burrow. These are absolutely irreplaceable tools, which make photos more sculptural. These tools allow you to make photos truly expressive, and there is even a special editing method, in which colors and shadows are emphasized as much as possible, and at the same time the semitones are practically removed. And you can see some of the examples of such editing right now. And we'll also look at such useful tools as sharpness, blur and smudge. Let's start with a tool called a dodge. Here it is. There are also such tools as a burn and sponge. Well, as the name implies, this tool of course brightens our image. It has the same settings as all brushes. That is, we can choose a different brush shape. And we can also choose the range of tones that we plan to implement. This can be shadows, midtones or the highlights. Exposure refers to the impact force or the instrument. It can also work as an airbrush and be used when working with a tablet. It is better to leave the Protect Tones checkmark enabled, because in this case the quality will be better. And let's see how we can use this tool. I duplicate the layer with the girl. Now I will slightly reduce the size of the brush, and very often the photo can get better if we make the whites a little lighter. Let's try to do it this way. I'll now put more exposure in order to make it clearly visible. But it is better to start with small values, because in this case the work will be much more delicate. Look, the areas where I use this tool become much lighter now. If I choose Highlights mode, then of course the impact will be much more intense like this. We don't need that much. Usually 10 is enough, sometimes even less. And so I lit up the whites or the girl's eye. Look at what I had and what I have now. You can see that working with this tool is quite simple. And let's see its opposite, the burn tool. Here it is. And in the same way we can choose the range of tones with which we want to work and the level of influence of the instrument. And let's make an eyeliner a little darker, and I swipe along the line where her eyes are lined, but probably it is still possible to put it harder. Well, let's leave the shadows and look what's going on. That's how expressive the eyeliner is. I think it is possible to reduce this effect a little. You can also darken eyes a little here. And I think it's worth making the pupils a little darker. Something like this. Maybe darken the eyebrows a little. And that's what we got. Before, after. And let's move on to the sponge tool. This is the third tool in this group. And it allows you to either lower or increase the saturation of the zone on which it is used. Let's choose Saturate and see what we get. I will try to make the lips a little brighter. I just swipe on my lips. And you see that color is immediately added. Let's compare again and let's see how the desaturation mode works for this tool. Look, I'm using it only here and the color practically disappears. I actually get a black and white image with the maximum parameters of this tool. But of course I'm doing this demonstration, and in general of course you can set smaller values. That's the hair color. If you wish, you can also use other tools that we have considered. For example, you can emphasize individual strands using the dodge tool. Look, I'm swiping on separate strands and they become lighter. Here you can give such a texture to the hairstyle. And you can take a burn tool and work out a little the darkest places on the hair. If I do it on one curl, then of course it can be done throughout the hairstyle. Well, that's what it turns out. You can make the hairstyle luminous and sculptural by emphasizing every strand. It is possible to edit light strands here too. This way. Let's now see how the smudge tool works. It is right here. We will take it now. And look, I used this tool on an eyelash. And what is going on? And the tone is kind of blurring, and it makes the effect of pulling. Thus, it is possible, for example, to make eyelashes much thicker and longer. And of course, you can increase the strength. The second eye. It's hard to draw on the second eye. But let's try at least a little bit at all. In general, all these little details make the image itself. You can make the lower eyelashes more expressive. So let's smooth them a little bit. I didn't show you all the settings of this tool, because they are quite intuitive. Well, obviously, you can take a sample for all layers, as in other tools. And there is also fingerprinting option. In this case, the tool will draw with the color that you have selected. For example, now I will take a sample from the eye and take the smudge tool. And look, I get such a smeared line, at the beginning of which I have the color that I have taken. Here again, look like commas. You can use these settings when drawing. It is similar to a mixer brush tool's principle of work. I will go back to the dodge tool and added a little more glare on the eyes here for more expressiveness. After that, we will move on to another tool called sharpness. Sometimes we need to add a sharpness, not on the whole image, but on its individual parts. And the tool called sharpness will suit us here. Look, I'm going to use this tool on the lower part of this iris, and that's what's happening here. I think you can see the difference very well. I am purposely doing this a little more intensively than it is required, but in this case you'll see it better. That's it. Let me go back and do the same, but not so actively. I just use it along the edge, so that I can better see this dark edge that frames the iris. That's probably it. And the opposite of this tool is the blurring tool. Let's take a look at it too. It resembles such a drop. I think you have already realized that the task of this tool is to create a blur. When we use this tool on some parts of the image, they become more blurred and less sharp. Now I am trying to make the edge of the girl's clothes less sharp, or the edges of the hair. Look, I use it on the hair, and the effect becomes less sharp. If, for example, I want to soften the borders of the image, then this tool is just right. So I hope it is visible. Let's admire how the girl has changed as a result of our manipulations. And that's what we had. And that's what we have now. I think you can easily repeat all this. And this will be your homework for today. It was Peter Romanov and AIM School. See you next time.